Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You've felt it your entire life, like there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you here. Do you want to know what it is? It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. That you are a slave. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. And this is how they did it. What you think is your government is actually a for-profit corporation, evidenced by their Dun & Bradstreet number. Dun & Bradstreet is a credit reporting agency for corporations. So if an entity, a business, or a government establishment has a Dun & Bradstreet number, that means they're a for-profit corporation. The United States is a for-profit corporation. The state of New York is also a for-profit corporation. And where is the state of New York located? In Washington, D.C. It's not even in New York. The corporation is in Washington, D.C. And every state has been incorporated like this. Even counties and cities have been incorporated. They're all private, for-profit corporations. Now, where do we as U.S. citizens fit into all this? Well, if you look at the legal definition of the word citizen, city means municipal and zen means servant. So a citizen is a municipal servant. That's what our public servants are, municipal servants. So we're unknowingly calling ourselves public servants or employees of the Corporation of Washington, D.C. The for-profit corporations of the government have no authority over you. They operate through the consent of the governed. They have to get your tacit agreement that you're a citizen, person, or resident referring to legally defined employees of the Corporation of Washington, D.C. What's the legal definition of the word resident? Someone there temporarily to do business. How did they get you to live in D.C. and reside where you lay your head? They invented the zip codes. By writing a zip code on a letter, you are saying you live in Washington, D.C. and that you just reside in your city or town temporarily to do business. Now, how did you get into this mess in the first place? Well, when your mother was 9 months pregnant, she checked into a foundling hospital. The word foundling means a safe place to abandon a child. All churches, hospitals, police stations, and fire stations in the United States are designated as foundling by Congress. You can take a baby, put it in a basket, and walk into any of those 4 locations and set that basket down on the floor, smile and wave, and walk out without any consequences to yourself whatsoever. On a brass plaque in an obscure location inside the hospital, probably under a stairwell, it declares this hospital as a foundling hospital. So a mother gives birth to a baby, and this is where it gets really crazy. Throughout history, like when ships launched, the child came out of the water as ships do, and was tugged through the birth canal as ships are pulled through shipping canals. The word birth, when spelled with an E, means a ship's allotted place at a wharf or dock. The ship was then docked at the dock by the dock tender, where a bill of lading was filled out and received on the cargo. No physician delivers a baby, only a doctor delivers babies. Doctor as in dock tender. Metaphorically, the baby's soul is then taken via the soul footprints of the baby. Then via the birth certificate registration, the baby is sent to be registered with the crown, the rulers of England, and is presumed dead and lost at sea metaphorically and legally until it should return and claim its minor estate. Its minor estate is a cestui trust. The trusts go back to when men boarded ships and were gone for years. Their property was put into a trust, and the trust would care for their family. If they were gone for more than 7 years, they were considered dead until they came back to claim their estate. The baby is a vessel like a ship. That's where your all caps name comes in. If you look at the names of ships, they are all capital letters. And whenever your name is spelled in all caps, they are referring to your vessel, which is your estate or trust. But no one disclosed the terms and conditions of the contract to the parents. They are told to register their baby with the state and give it a name. So they fill out the paperwork and name the baby, The parents then sign as an informant. What is the legal definition of the word informant? It's someone who gives someone else up to another. Thus, the mother gives the title and equity of the child to the state. This creates a doctrine called parens patriae, which means the state is the parent. You were born free, but when your mother registered you on a birth certificate form, you became a U.S. citizen, a person, and a resident, and you lost all your diplomatic immunity. You became a servant and a slave of the corporate government, subject to school indoctrination, licensing requirements, and having to ask permission to live. Your mother awarded you to the state in a birth ward. Why do you think a birthing ward is called a ward? You became a ward of the state and a ward of the court under the doctrine of parens patriae. You became a slave, but grew up thinking you were free. The 13th Amendment of the Constitution freed the enslaved black people, and the 14th Amendment enslaved us all. There's a maxim of law that states, that which one creates, one controls. The corporate government created the U.S. citizen and thus controls the U.S. citizen. And this was all done through fraud without full and honest disclosure of the contract. You were registered, bonded, and insured. Your vessel was created, and a cestui trust was created in your name, generating millions of dollars that you could use to live a comfortable life, but you didn't know about it. The cestui trust is an individual trust under the public charitable trust umbrella that funds our government. Every individual in the United States and in most countries of the world has a cestui trust. The state manages each trust that everyone has through their birth certificate registration. There are birth certificates and certificates of live birth, and they are not the same thing. On your certificate of live birth, it's on bond paper. You can tell by the thickness of the paper, the raised seal, and the CUSIP number, which is an investment control number that the Securities and Exchange Commission regulates. If you were born after 1975, you were bonded for $1 million and insured for $2 million. This money gets invested and keeps growing and growing. Many of you have hundreds of millions of dollars in your cestui trust. Some even have billions. And it's there waiting for you to return and claim it. Now you're probably wondering, how do you claim your minor estate? Well, it starts with changing your status. Changing your status from a U.S. citizen to an American state national. As an American state national, you are free and no longer subject to the corporate government. How does one change their status to an American state national? Well, that's a topic for another video.